Okay, we're back. This is our third vlog of our MS Access accounting database accounting series, rather. Okay, so today we'll create a form for our general journal. In the earlier videos that I've created, we immediately entered the data manually. Okay, so now uh, we'll create a form to mimic real world scenario. So let's get going. Okay, so what we're gonna do is to create a form something like this. Let's just close this first. So anyway, but first, if you have followed my videos, please open your Access database. So what we're gonna do is create a form like this, right? So we're gonna click form view. Okay, I've already entered some data here, so let's just change it just to 20,000 14. And if we hit enter, we're prompted to enter two rows twice. Okay, and if we're gonna look at our general journal, it's here, right? 14 transaction, cash 101, and then 20,000 amount, and of course the day. If you notice, we didn't take care of the codes here in the account name part because this is quite redundant, and so I don't want you to worry about this. I don't want to create unnecessary codes because in real world. Okay, we're back. So we'll go to the create tab and then find the form design, and from here we can rename this later once we're gonna save this, or we can save this already. We're gonna name this form GJ1. Okay, so we're just gonna imitate what's in here. So actually we have like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 controls to worry about. So the rest are just like labels, okay, and you will understand that later. So here it is. So first we're gonna add a text box name. We're gonna go to property. You can show the properties by right clicking the control, so like this, and then you can see the properties, so you can see what properties are you going to change. Okay, so let's go to our form. So first we need a text box. Okay, text box, and then we can name this as text date, because that's what we need. Text date. We have a text date. And then next one is the transaction ID. I'm gonna put it here. Never mind the alignment, so we can speed up the demonstration. Text trans ID. Okay, make sure you get it right. Not text trans, I'm sorry. I have to strictly copy the codes properly because it's already done. We just need to copy it. And the next one is combo box. 2 combo boxes. The combo box is here. Combo box is good for just like in your Excel, It's like your data validation list. So where do I want? I want my data from a table only. Okay, so that's chart of accounts, and we need two. Never mind the normal balance yet. And then we need an ascending sorting by its account IDs, so it will look like this. Okay, so we need to put this account ID, so that's what's going to be entered in our table. You will understand that later. The next one is the same. It's just pretty much the same, so we have to speed up. Okay, then we finish. Of course, you will name this as a CB debit. By the way, this is what you call naming convention of Visual Basic. You put the type of control, any initials you want, but preferably the ones suggested by Visual Basic. So it's combo box and CB. Alright, and if it's a text box, you put the text before your variable name, text. Okay, so we're almost done. Next one are the two text boxes again for our amounts. Put that here, and another one. Okay, call it debit, call this credit. Alright, we're almost done, and we call this text debit because it's a text box. Text debit, and it's a text credit. I hope I got this right. We're gonna check this if it's the same. Yes, text credit. It's just heavy debit, heavy credit. Alright, so now we're gonna put the button right here. We don't want to use the wizard, we just cancel it so we can create our own codes. Your first code, this one, you just click here. I don't know where to find the caption. Was it here? So yeah, it's here. So you can just double click it here, or you can change that here in the format tab. So we just put there enter, but that's just the caption, it's not its name. So you can find its code name here. So we'll just call it CMD enter, right? And then in the event procedure, meaning if you can see, the names are like familiar to you, like clicking, mouse down, mouse up, key down, like your arrow keys. For Visual Basic or for any other program, it generates some event where your codes can be triggered. So in here, we'll trigger a code. You select the code builder because that's what we're going to create. We will trigger our code, and our code is simply the one that we've already created here. Okay, so I need not type this again, so I just need to explain. So this part here is your variables. Variables is simply your it's like your agreement with your computer, right? So if I'm gonna explain this to you in very crude form. Let's open our paint just to explain this to you. Okay, we'll get back when we're opened this. Okay, we're back. So first, let's explain this first block of code. These are your variables. So in layman's term, I don't want to explain too much. This is like your agreement with your computer, right? Or the programming language, whatever you want to call it. Supposing this is his memory, okay? And in this memory, you want to tell the computer that you have your own, you want to borrow some of his memory, so he can easily identify it, right? So there are a chunk of small memories that you've borrowed, and these are what you call variables. Okay, so in our case we have like set up 5 variables. Okay, so very easy, right? So like I said, these are data types. So the programming language already knows what type of data it can handle. Okay, so it would be easier for the computer to identify, okay, or to know what type of processes that he's going to do with your variables. Okay, so then the next part is this is where like the user interface. Okay, if you have your ATM, right, you enter your PIN in the text box, something like that. These are your controls. So you can get your value from the user. So for example, the text date, if we created earlier the text date box, right? If we enter a date there, it can pass it to our memory, or rather our variable here, the memory we borrowed from Visual Basic, your programming language. Okay, so we're gonna paint that. So our date is red. Okay, so sorry. Okay, so we have debit. We've already created that earlier. By the way, MS Access is kind of weird. It always needs to focus on the control, right, in order for you to manipulate the control. So never mind, it's just a syntax. In the computer, in programming, which I will make a video on, some sort of inspirational talk. You just have to play with the codes and get familiarized with the syntax. Okay, instead of asking why, you have to ask how. That's the trick in learning programming. Anyway, let's move. So like I said, it's pretty similar. We have already here the properties of text, values for each control, so we can get its value and pass it to our variables right here. Okay, so now this is a SQL statement, an insert SQL statement. So as you can see here, this is a a command built only for MS Access. It runs an insert, delete, update statements. Okay, so in this case, we have here a very long code. So the syntax is merely insert. As you can see, you have insert. I will type this here if you like. I'm sorry for that. Let's make this bigger. Let's get a text. So in this case, insert. Okay, I think red is cool. So we have insert, into table, so your table, and then the values. That's the syntax. Easy, right? And if you wanna for example, in this case, we have here table general journal into the table, but we need not type the table, of course, just the table name itself. And then you have to insert sometimes this is optional, but in our case, let's just type this one. Okay, so you have to type that here. That's the syntax. I'm sorry about that sound. And then we have here, this is how you pass the variables. This is quite tricky. If it's a date, you have to enclose your variable with an ampersand, a double quote, and the pound sign in this manner. You just need to memorize that or copy that. And if it's a text, you have a single quote and then a double quote and then an ampersand. Okay, just copy that as is. So this is, and if it's a number or a numeric data, you don't need any more single quote, just a double quote. Okay, as you can see here, double quote and an ampersand, and close that. Okay, so that's it. It's easy as that. So what's this insert data gonna do? So if you can see, our table is composed of if we're gonna open our table, this is actually my date, account name, account ID, trans ID, and amount. If we're gonna open that, we put the variable value which we have already set here, right? Date, text date. We pass the text value to our date variable, and then that is what we're gonna enter to our column, my date, and then label debit, which is account name, and then we have account ID, which is the debit ID for the debit account, and then the account ID, which is the account ID itself, and then we have the trans ID, and then the amount. So that's for the debit side. For the credit side, we just change this to the credit. If we're gonna go back here, just to we simply toggle between these two, right? So for the text debit, and this for the text credit. This for the debit ID and for the credit ID. Okay, so we go back again, can click again this three dots. So it's pretty similar. So the changes here are simply this one, right? This is the ID that the variable where we pass on our credit value ID and the debit value ID, and here the amount, right? Debit amount and the credit amount. Okay, so we're good. And before we forget, we actually failed to forget to change the name here. Again, we have to change this to label debit. This one to label credit. Okay, so we're good. So we're gonna run this we can run this by clicking form view. So we have to text, this is the date, so the date today is 1/4/2021, and then if we have the 15th transaction, and then another cash, and this time let's say it's a sales, say 50,000, and we enter. Oh, why is it there's a mismatch here? Oh, I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry. Okay, let's run this again. Oh, wait a minute. When it bugs, you just need to click out. Okay, let's close this first. Okay, 2021. So we enter again. So you see it's asking you to append 1 rows. That's for the debit part, and for the credit part. But then I forgot again one more thing. Okay, if you take a look at that, it's already here, 15. But we failed to what do you call this? Our mechanics, which is the positive and negative part. So what are we gonna do there? We need to go back to the design view, click the button again, and change its event procedure. This time, if it's a credit value, we need to multiply this by a negative number. So we're done, because we promised, right? If it's a credit, it's a negative. So let's make another example again. Supposing this is 16th value. Let's see. Good. Refresh. Oh. So we have now the negative. Let's delete this part. Yes. And we delete the record. Okay. So let's not prolong this video, but I want you to look at the code. It is quite long. Okay. You can quite copy that. So please take a look at this code. Okay, then copy this part. You can just try to pause the video, right? And copy it. So that's it. Don't forget to subscribe, leave your comments and ask questions so we can make your videos more meaningful.